Hi, I'm Janine, and I am so glad I have this opportunity to connect with you. I wish we could sit together over a cup of tea and chat about your journey with your child or children with DLD and the way your family has been impacted. Parenting a child with DLD has its own set of challenges and its own beautiful joys. Each one of you brings your own unique story and is at a different place on your path forward. But we are all here because we love our kids and we are motivated to help them succeed. Some of us may still be in shock. Others may feel overwhelmed, and still others may feel relieved to finally have a name for your child's struggles. Having received a devastating medical diagnosis for my own daughter, I relate to some of the emotions you may be experiencing. It can be so painful to see your little one struggle, especially when other children around you seem to thrive while your child flounders. I've counseled parents who have reacted to their child's diagnosis by questioning if they need to quit their job, move to a new city, get a second job to pay for therapy, or decide not to have any more children. I've also had parents become deeply depressed and anxious or get stuck ruminating in their belief that they don't have what it takes and just want to escape because this is not the child they dreamed of having. Others feel consumed with guilt and thoughts that maybe if they had allowed less screen time, if they'd sent their child to daycare, if they had not sent their child to daycare, if they had talked more to their child or read them more books or given them more fish oil, maybe then this wouldn't be happening to their family. You may also be dealing with unwanted or unhelpful input from friends or family members regarding your child's development, academic achievement, or possibly even your parenting. This can add to the stress, pressure, and isolation that caregivers feel. I firmly believe that knowledge about DLD and joining a community where you are not alone in dealing with it can be hugely impactful. At this point in your journey, some of the initial shock has probably worn off and you're more ready to take in information. I'd like to break down what developmental language disorder is for you now so you can feel empowered and understand what you're dealing with. As we continue in this course, you will gain invaluable knowledge about how DLD impacts children, as well as realistic strategies to help your child succeed. In addition, I will also provide information you may wish to share with family members if that feels like the right choice for you. Acquiring this knowledge is such a big step in the right direction. Developmental language disorder is an invisible communication disorder that results in a child struggling to learn, understand, and/or use spoken language. Trouble with spoken language also impacts written language, both reading and writing, because oral language is the foundation for literacy. Remember, reading and writing are just language in a different form. DLD can greatly impact a child's educational journey since understanding teacher lessons, clearly sharing thoughts in class discussions, especially where specific vocabulary needs to be used, following complex instructions, sharing thoughts when working in a group, understanding what's read, knowing how to write a story or a report, communicating when resolving a conflict, these can all be affected by DLD. Social interaction and relationships with both adults and peers can be challenging when there are issues with language. Emotional health and mental well-being can be deeply impacted by communication challenges. And I understand how upsetting this information can be for parents and caregivers, which is why I encourage you to keep forging ahead as we learn together and unpack the many ways you can better understand and help your child. DLD is really common. On average, about 2 kids per kindergarten class have it. In fact, in McGregor's 2020 article called How We Fail Children with DLD, we learned that DLD is almost 7 times more prevalent than autism. Still, so many people have never heard of it. I am working hard to change that, and I am glad many of you will end up joining me in the quest to raise awareness about DLD. We know that DLD is lifelong. It's going to manifest differently at different ages, and we will talk more about this as the course progresses. With DLD, all languages that the child uses will be impacted. So if the child's in a bilingual home where they speak maybe Arabic and English, they won't have difficulty in only one language. All languages will be impacted. And we find DLD throughout the world, so it's not just people who speak Spanish and English who end up with this diagnosis. It's everywhere. Now, if a child is struggling to learn a second language, let's say they're in a French or a Spanish immersion school, if they don't have any trouble with their primary language, the language that they speak at home, and they're just struggling to learn the second language, that's a totally different situation, and that is not developmental language disorder. So again, With DLD, all languages the child uses are impacted. Now, there are different types of language disorders. Developmental language disorder is challenges with spoken language that aren't related to other known causes. For example, with DLD, challenges can't be due to hearing loss. There can't be intellectual impairment or brain injuries to receive the DLD diagnosis, but children who do have those other issues I just mentioned may well be diagnosed with a language disorder. It's just associated with a different cause, so it isn't called developmental language disorder. There are many similarities with DLD and language disorders associated with other known causes. So when we diagnose your child, we can't just do a blood test or scan their brain to determine whether or not they have DLD. You or your child's teacher likely noticed a functional impairment at the beginning of this journey. Your child was struggling with communication in certain areas. Perhaps your child wasn't talking as much or as well as his peers, or he didn't really seem to understand what you were saying, or maybe zoned out a lot when the teacher was talking. That's often what we see at the beginning of the DLD journey. When it is confirmed that there truly are functional areas in the child's life where they're struggling with communication, then we go a little bit further and use some standardized language tests as well, and also evaluate how your child understands and uses language in a variety of daily life and academic activities. This assessment of how the child uses language functionally is much more important than results on standardized tests, especially with certain populations. Before we move on, I want to clear up any potential confusion. We might have parents whose children are older, and when they were originally diagnosed, they were given a different label, potentially specific language impairment, language disorder, developmental aphasia, mixed receptive expressive language disorder, language learning impairment, and so on. These are all terms that have been used in different countries or in different time periods to describe DLD. Different professionals have also used different terminology, but we've tried to come together to have consistency. We need to use the same label so that there can be better understanding. So DLD is the new term that is used, but if you're doing research and you encounter some of those other terms, now you understand why. I want to give you hope that despite the challenges I just mentioned, your child has so much potential. Things seem bleak now, but stick with me, and by the end of this course, you should have a much deeper understanding of the way your child learns, along with so many practical ways to help your child succeed.